with us Dr. Arijit Ghosh. This is the third day of International Conference of Transformative Education. For our session today on creating the conditions for success, we have uh, Arijit Ghosh, who is the Vice President of Seth MR Jaipuria Group and boasting over 2 decades of expertise in K-12 education. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to hear from you. I will leave the stage for you and you can start. Thank you.
Thank you, Madira. I'll just take.
Dr. Arjit, you are on mute. Can you please unmute yourself?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
So sorry. I'll just restart my presentation. Can you see my screen? Hi, Madira. Is the screen visible?
Yes, your screen is visible. Can you please
Yeah,
put in full preview form?
sure. Yeah, I'll start again. So, thank you once again to the organizers of the International Conference for Transformative Education for having me here today to share my insights about creating conditions for success. So, over the next 50 odd minutes, I'll share my thoughts and ideas. And maybe the last 5 7 minutes, we can budget for any question answers, any questions that the participants might have, or anything for clarification or further detailing to the points which I will cover. So, to begin with, these are two pictures, one definitely black and white, the left hand side, and the right one, a colored picture. These two pictures, apart from the basic difference between a black and white and a color, does these two pictures look similar? Do they have similarity with regards to the places or how the pictures have been taken. So if you reflect, both these two pictures have a central corridor, a very long corridor, and maybe two rooms on the two sides of the corridor. The doors you can very rightly see on the right hand side picture. On the left hand side picture, you can see some iron gates. Now, incidentally, the picture on the left is from Cellular Jail, which is at the Andaman and Nicobar Islands in India. And on the right hand side is a school corridor. So, we certainly don't want our schools to look like, to feel like jails or confinement areas. So that is something which we are going to try and address in today's narrative. Now, when we talk about creating conditions for success, first we need to understand that what does success mean in this current world? Because we obviously, today's world is extremely fast paced. We all have heard of the term VUCA: volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. So, what does success mean in that particular context? So, an executive coach, author, and comedian from India by the name Papa CJ, in a very recent interview, said that very often we are chasing a definition of success which is defined by someone else. He goes on to say that in a job, or somebody is doing something, and we make comments that, oh wow, he's doing so well, he's doing so good, kind of defining the success without understanding or knowing the definitive layers. So it is not so defined. Definition of success very commonly is being defined by some of the optics, some of the bare outputs, which either it comes, if you're in a profession, it comes in your designation, defines your success, your salary defines your success. But if you reflect and deep dive, that in a school ecosystem, if I take this point in the school parlance, then we generally tend to define success by student attainment scores, or let's say by the number of overseas college admissions uh, taken up by the students of a certain school, or by the number of awards and accolades won by the institution. However, we all need to reflect and understand and acknowledge that successful children leaving the institution after completing their academic years need to be a good co worker, need to have the perseverance, need to be able to solve problems and think critically. So, first and foremost is, as an organization, as an individual, we need to first consider defining success and generate a language of success along with some indicators. So, if let's say being responsible, we feel that that is what defines success, then how does it look like in reality? That is something which we need to think and ponder. Everything that we do starts with the story we tell ourselves about ourselves. So let us all bring purpose, the why, into the core of the narrative. Now, in the course of this presentation, I'm going to focus on four kind of domains or areas to create these conditions for success. The first is open communication and having a shared vision. So it all begins with the leader. So a very strong leader will not only be able to take things forward, but also will be able to develop the right culture in an organization. I'm going to share this framework for a school leader, which we at SAIT MR Jaipuria group of schools have designed and developed. So, academic leadership, the six domains are academic leadership, business leadership, people leadership, symbolic leadership, cultural leadership, and community leadership. So over here, we kind of define each of these. For example, I'm going to define one or two just to share some idea about it. Academic leadership, the role of the principal will be to lead, manage, and monitor the school improvement process through a current and critical understanding of the learning process and its implications for enhancing high quality teaching and learning in every classroom in the school. So, very specific definition of what this domain encompasses. If I talk about, let's say, symbolic leadership, the principal will demonstrate the capacity to model important values and behaviors to the school and community, including a commitment to creating and sustaining effective professional learning communities within the school and across all levels of the system. So, this is very, very important to set the expectations correctly. And then, if we break each of these domains to further subdomains, we can identify one or two areas which we need to focus on in maybe the next academic year or in next couple of academic years, for example, which will obviously vary from one school to the other, which would ultimately define the successful school. Again, continuing, let's say with academic leadership, how would these subdomains look like? Under academic leadership, let's say resourcing workload strategically is one area. Whether the principal is able to guide a strategic resourcing is something which we need to take into consideration. Then let's say promoting and participating in teacher learning and development. That's another one. Within symbolic leadership, building vision and setting directions is again another role, a subdomain of what the leader should take forward. Promoting inclusion and diversity on all aspects is another one. So these are very specific subdomain areas where a school, a leader can focus and work towards achieving what they are set out to. So, what I'm trying to say over here is generating a framework, defining the indicators are very critical in taking things forward. Moving on, so this is very, very true that you can never over communicate. So don't think that we have communicated this once or twice and it's enough. There is nothing called over communication. So what we also at our schools do is, so in order to kind of encourage continuous communication amongst teachers, amongst the students as well, we share a reflection journal, a teacher reflection journal with all our teachers, which captures year long initiatives and best practices that contribute towards one's professional development. So we all understand and acknowledge that in order to do or improve in the way of working, you need to take out some time and reflect into what you are doing. And reflection without documentation is not going to help teachers, because obviously we have a very volatile memory in that sense. So everything we cannot remember until and unless we jot it down, we write, we document, and go back to that over and over again. So this is the importance of communication and having an open communication and sharing, and the element of reflection. We also acknowledge that social and emotional learning, or the importance of well-being, is not only important for students but also for teachers as well. So, what we have done in 2022 is we have partnered with Persona Education UK, and we are following their Persona Life Skills framework for our students and teachers. So, Persona Life Skills builds student well being and employability, and they have 22 social and emotional life skills across six skill sets. So, they are being realistic, communication, open mindedness, problem solving, resilience, and self control. So, what they do over here is the personas, what you see on the screen are those 22 and the six domains which I just mentioned on the left hand side. And this is an internationally circulated white paper which was published by Persona in association with Pearson. And we have our case study featured in this document as well. So, Persona's personality insights concept is based on large scale behavioral science research and developed with input from students, school inspectors, head teachers, and experts in the SEL field. So, what it does is it provides young people with a thinking framework they can use to develop these skill sets. So crucially, the framework is has got four different domains. One is rational, one is decisive, one is sociable, and one is animated. So these are the personality styles which are being defined under this particular framework. Also, the social, practical, and memorable adjectives which are used while defining the personality of an individual makes it easily internalized as well as useful for young people in the life challenges that they face. So, this I thought is something again with regards to open communication, communicating with students is extremely important. The second one, which I would love to talk about, is stakeholder collaboration and peer support. So, here, under this broad area, this is something which I want to quote uh, the Australian educationist John Hattie. So all teachers want their children to improve. There is no teacher in this world who doesn't have this mindset that my children should not improve. So this is a universal truth that all teachers want their students to improve. So when teams of teachers share a collective belief in their ability to positively impact each and every student, so, what John Hattie, in his monumental colossal research of visible learning, has found out that the Cohen's effect, the effect size, is as high as 1.57. So, we are as close to a guarantee as we can to get every student succeed. So, collective teacher efficacy becomes a crucial part in the school ecosystem. That's why collaboration amongst teachers, discussion amongst teachers becomes extremely important. When teachers collaborate, what happens is there's higher levels of job satisfaction and capability. There is also no fear and there is an openness to give and receive feedback. So it is not that the teachers would not want to open up themselves because they might feel that if the other person comes to know of my weak area or finds himself or herself in a vulnerable position, then it may be used in a negative manner or in a negative insight. So that fear is not there if you practice this collective teacher efficacy. And it also, once you do that, when the fear factor is out of the system, then you are obviously more happy, more satisfied in what you are doing, but you also actively able to manage your own personal well-being. So this is Hattie's research. I would urge and request everyone listening to us to kind of read more about John Hattie and his research on visible learning. Moving on from teachers, teacher definitely is along with a or school leader. They are the crucial pillars contributing towards the growth of a student, no doubt about that. But we should not forget the role of a parent in the entire ecosystem. So, there are several researches which show that active parents contribute significantly towards child development. than passive parents. So I would like to quote here the framework of Joyce Epstein. So Joyce Epstein's six types of parent involvement are being explained. So these kind of describes essential dimensions of youth, family, and community engagement and partnerships in schools. So I'm going to quickly go through these. So the first one is just parenting occurs when families practices and home environments support children as students, and when schools understand their children's families. So helping children in their homework, or let's say uh, coming and participating, or let's say attending the parent teacher meetings and orientations. So that comes under parenting. Second one is communicating. So this occurs when educators, students, and families they co-create and design effective forms of school to home and home to school communications. That what the child is doing in school, that effective communication is going out to the families, and in turn, what the child is doing at home, that as a reverse process from home also it is coming back to the school. We all understand that communication is not unidirectional. There has to be a loop which needs to get completed. So in order to completing the loop, I know there are many school leaders who will be hearing this session, who's part of this session today. uh, they might think that yes, we do have a very strong robust communication channel with our parents. Yes, I agree that from the school all set communications are being passed on to the parents, but apart from acknowledgement, is there meaningful communication or meaningful highlights and insights coming from the parents to the school regarding the child? That is something which we need to reflect and improve upon if required. The third one under this Epstein's framework is volunteering. Now, this occurs when educators, students, and families recruit and organize parent help and support and count parents as an audience for student activities. So, let's say there is an event in school and we call parents as volunteers to help and support that particular activity. So, that comes under volunteering. The fourth one is learning at home. Now, this occurs when information, ideas, or training are provided to educate families about how they can help students at home with homework and other curriculum related activities, decisions, and planning. So, a kind of a, I won't use the word homeschooling happening parallelly, but it's basically what is happening in school that is being nurtured further, or that is being strengthened further at home, that learning. So this is what is called learning at home, and the role of parents over there supporting the children in their learning, not only in school but at home as well. The fifth one out of the sixth is decision making, occurs when schools include parents in school decisions and develop parent leaders and representatives. So I'm aware that many schools already have a parent council where school decisions are being discussed. So those are best practices. But again, what is the role and authority? Do we acknowledge a very strong parent voice, or we are just having the parent council because of some statutory requirements and just informing the parent council of the decisions taken by the school? That is again something worth reflecting and, if required, changing our approach. The last one is collaborating with the community much wider. This occurs obviously when community services, resources, and partners are integrated into the educational process to strengthen school programs, family practices, and student learning and development. So, here what happens is, especially let me give examples from India, particularly from our own group. We have 49 operational schools presently this academic year, primarily in tier 2, tier 3 cities across 36 cities in 5 states. What we have observed is India doesn't change every 100 kilometers, but India changes every 50 kilometers. So, the kind of context, the kind of aspirations, the kind of dreams which the students and their families have in these tier 2, tier 3 cities, uh, these are phenomenal. India is not only about the Delhis and the Mumbais and the Bangalores and the Chennais, the basically the metro cities, but I think there's a lot of fantastic aspiration and good work happening in smaller towns and cities. So what we have seen is, as we open up schools in many of these smaller cities of the country, in 2 or 3 years the community gets transformed. The community, the development of that town, a small town, the development is catered, and it is not only about our school. Any educational institution which opens up and doing quality work, doing good work, providing good education, is happening in a smaller town or a city. I think the landscape of that city changes, the development starts to building, the community engagement becomes a lot more. There is suddenly a responsibility felt by the community that yes, we need to do well, not only for ourselves but for others as well. So I think this is something which we need to keep in mind in the parent involvement, when we are talking about parent involvement. Now, what happens is, when we do this parent involvement, apart from other many other benefits, there are expected results for students, parents, and teachers of the 6 types of involvement. Okay, so let's say results for students is definitely, if let's say it is happening, learning at home is happening in the lives of that child. The result for students will be, the students will gain in skills, abilities, and test scores linked to homework and classwork. There will be very regular homework completion. There will be positive attitude towards schoolwork, because there's a constant guidance, there's a constant communication happening with the family members. Okay, uh, what happens with regards to parents? Suppose, let's say, if decision making is being done with the parent community, with parent involvement, the result for the parents would be that input into policies that affect their child's education. They would openly give inputs which might be extremely valuable, or it just might validate what the school management or the authorities are already being thinking. Okay, there will be a lot of ownership, the feeling of ownership of school, and less of competition, that okay, or rather less of blame game, that the school hasn't done this for my child, and the school in turn says that we have done what we have to do, there is no support at home. So there will be a true collaboration and joining hands together. So the shared experiences and connections with other families will also come in. Just that I spoke about collective teacher efficacy, here you will get to see a collective parent involvement as well, and support. Okay, and what happens with the result of teachers? For example, if we are talking about communicating, how does communicating help in bringing about results for teachers? That there is both school to home and home to school effective communications. Then there will be increased diversity and use of communications with families, and awareness of own ability to communicate clearly. Sometimes we uh, uh, I'm sure many of you have heard of Johari window and the blind quadrant. So sometimes there are many things which are in our blind eye zone. So when we are able to facilitate this two-way communications, there will be a certain awareness of our own communication gaps or challenges that we might be having. Appreciation and use of parent network is again something which the teachers will be able to feel and benefit out of it. And then there will be increased ability to elicit and understand family views on children's programs and projects, and the progress of the child. So in all, an effective school family community partnership model is a win-win situation for everybody, most for the child as well. And that's what all of us as educators would want to do, would want to transform education in that manner. Moving forward, this is something which I would like to focus on. That, in fact, I would like to, before I move over here, I would like to share a quote of Joyce Epstein, basically to summarize the importance of school, family, and community partnership model. I'll read it out. So he says that schools have choices. There are two common approaches to involving families in schools and in their children's education. One approach emphasizes conflict and views the school as a battleground. The conditions and relationships in this kind of environment guarantee power struggles and disharmony. The other approach emphasizes partnership and views the school as a homeland. The conditions and relationships in this kind of environment invite power sharing and mutual respect and allow energies to be directed towards activities that foster student learning and development. Even when conflicts rage, however, peace must be restored sooner or later, and the partners in children's education must work together. So, this basically summarizes the need, the importance of having an effective framework or model for a partnership between school, family, and community. And I think Joyce Epstein's framework does justice exactly to this particular need and provides the much needed direction. Now, it is urged that teachers and other influencers of student development think more like a coach, a sports coach, let's say the coach who manages international sports teams as well, than a know all superior. Now, what does a coach do? How is a coach different from, let's say, a superior giving instructions? Some of the differences is they look at performance with the intent of making them better at something they love to do, not only overtly criticize. So first is bringing in love into whatever they are doing, and then giving them a roadmap as how to become further better in what they are doing. Then they focus on skills and give feedback that is timely and specific. Providing feedback is extremely important. So, a coach provides feedback which is very specific, which is timely, and focuses on skills. Again, what does the coach do? The coach communicates what he or she is doing right as much as what needs to be improved. So it is not about only criticizing, only saying that these are your areas of improvement. It is extremely important to acknowledge the good work an individual is doing, be it a child, be it a parent, be it anybody in the education ecosystem. So the influencer, the teacher, the school leader, the school management need to communicate whatever is going right, and then talk about what further can be improved. That assurance is very, very important. Also, sometimes we get overboard. We tend to transform everything overnight. Now, it is not possible. It is realistically not possible. So coaches also don't do that. If there are 10 flaws in somebody's, let's say, batting technique, or let's say managing defense in a football team, they don't try and address everything that the person needs to do. They focus on one or two things at a time. So that is how, in fact, we as educators also need to react to, not try to change everything at one go, and everybody gets overwhelmed in that process and nothing happens. It becomes all chaos. So it's a very, very specific way of improving things is something which we need to focus on. And most importantly, we need to take out time to talk about what the person's strengths are. I think kind of I have commented earlier as well, highlighting the strengths are very important. On this note, I would also provide a suggestion of using this review hexagon with with the stakeholders. So this is keep, more, less, try, stop, share. So what you want to keep, which is kind of uh, going well, retain it. What would you like to do more? What would you like to do less? What new things you want to try, what you would like to stop, and what you would like to share with others. So this, as a review framework, if this is being used by any individual, it can be toned it down to the level of the students. It can definitely be used by the teachers and by the school management as well. It will be able to throw a lot of insights into the entire functioning process. Sometimes we go overboard and kind of say that, okay, this is something which is being which we are doing, let's do it continuously. Or there have been a plethora of new ideas which have mushroomed out without reviewing much, and this typically happens when there is a change of guard, let's say a change of school head, and a new head comes in, with all due respect, and brings in a fresh set of ideas and tries to change everything which was happening in the school, but without a proper reflection and documentation of the rationale for change. So I think this review hexagon will give the much needed insight as to what needs to change and what you can keep. The third one I want to talk about is sustainability and world-wise learning. So this is the third one of the four which I want to talk to you all today. So now the world population is obviously more than 8 billion people. So sustainability is definitely not a fad, but really need to be more at the core of whatever we are doing. Anything and everything that we do, sustainability need to be at the core. So we all are aware of the agenda for sustainable development 2030, which is a plan of action for people, planet, and prosperity. It also seeks to strengthen universal peace in larger freedom and recognizes that without partnership at all levels, the realization of this dream will never be a reality. Okay, the 17 sustainable development goals and the 169 targets, though ambitious, which was announced in 2015, only all just a shade above 6 years left in completing that deadline. So they demonstrate the scale and ambition of the universal agenda. Now, these goals are integrated. So I want to just share something which we called SPICE. Now, over here, the heading that you see, which I've written on this slide, is actually an acronym that we follow at our said MR Jaipuria group of schools. So for us, we follow the values of SPICE. So as I said, SPICE is an acronym where S, as you guessed it right by now, S stands for sustainability. The other four, P stands for possibility, I for integrity, C for collaboration, and E for empathy. So this is something which we need to focus on. Now, I would also request, if you haven't referred to this book, this is on sustainability, and you have some amount of interest in sustainability, my very big recommendation would be to read Kate Raworth's work on donut economics. And this is the donut that you say. It's a very, very simple concept. What we think is humanity has only a small space which is safe and just for the humanity, which is the meat part of the donut. Anything which is a shortfall, anything which is a shortfall which makes up the social foundation, for example, water, food, health, education, These are there in your SDG goals as well: gender equality, networks, energy, income, and work. Then humanity will not be safe, not be a just place. Okay? Because you will fall into that sucking hole or kind of vacuum where nothing is there, if you think of a donut. Also, if you overshoot some of the ecological ceilings, which we have already, unfortunately, like climate change, ozone layer depletion, ocean acidification, biodiversity loss, chemical pollution, then also the safe and just space for humanity is getting compromised. So, mindless development without taking into consideration planet earth is going to spell disaster in the next few decades. So this is where we need to keep sustainability at the core of whatever we are doing, whatever new initiatives we are bringing, and this needs to start right from an early age, right from school as well. So that's what I wanted to talk about, the sustainability, the first part. The in Related to this is basically what we want to do is we want to make learning more intellectually appealing, so that students find a more connect and bring in the right context and connectivity into it. This is just a sample which we do in our schools, I want to share. So in to help equip our children to be ready with the right attitude, skills, and knowledge. I'm not talking about the order in which this should be done. Either it should be attitude, skills, and knowledge, or knowledge, skills, and attitude. Not getting into that debate. We must make learning more intellectually appealing. So learning need to be focused more on real life situations. Follow a project based learning approach, as you are seeing in this particular diagram, a figure taken a leaf from one of our curriculum plans. It also needs to have strong elements of curiosity and the other C's of 21st century learning requirements. Okay. So if you see that the curricular goals, so there is a big problem which is being highlighted, which is very strongly related to the present world, real life context. And then the personal life skills, we have used persona and mapped it with their life skills as well. What children need to know previously, the competencies, and then we have certain components to help teachers how to take forward this idea, and we have evaluation parameters as well for each of the component. So with this, what happens is learning doesn't get confined into the domains of only the syllabus. It is about the curriculum, and we make it enriching and learning more appealing. I want to go back about a century, and I want to share a quote of Nobel laureate Rabindranath Tagore. So here you see Tagore sitting next to the man who is standing near the blackboard. This is an open air classroom at Shantiniketan. And this is what uh, Rabindranath Tagore had to say, that why are we, or do we need to deprive the children, or give them a punishment of not making them closer to the sky, air, and their joy. So what the essence, I'm not reading out the quote, you all can read this quote yourself. What I am trying to kind of focus over here is that we must do everything in our control to bring joy in the process of learning. So deeper connect to nature surroundings is one definitive way to excite children in the process of learning. So more and more that we do in our schools, let's focus on joyful learning. What would bring joy in the lives of the children? That's about intellectual mapping. The fourth and the last tenet of my today's talk is about continuous monitoring and measurement. So here, uh, this is again one of my favorite books. This is written by Hattie, 10 Mind Frames for Visible Learning. A quote from the book that how we think about the impact of what we do is more important than what we do. Somewhere we lose on the purpose, on the why of things. Why are we doing something that we are doing? Or rather, if we are doing something, how do we know what is the success criteria? How do we know that whether there is going to be a positive impact in the lives of the users, if it is meant for the students, in the lives of the students, if something is purely meant for the teachers, even in the lives of the teachers as well. So how do we measure impact? So until and unless we think about how do we measure impact of what we are going to do, we should not be doing or even starting off, because the baseline or the entire construct of thinking is very, very important and crucial. One small point I would like to focus over here is, uh, now this actually I would refer Bill Gates. Bill Gates has a TED talk by the name "Teachers Need Real Feedback," and he states in that TED talk that the most common feedback received by teachers is satisfactory. So he highlights the need for a specific and meaningful feedback to help teachers improve in their own areas of work. So it all bottles down to teachers taking ownership of their own improvement, and then you have the collective teacher efficacy and creation of professional learning communities. So all these come up together. Obviously, each have its own separate domain out. So I just want to talk for 2 minutes about what we do and the framework that we follow over here. So these are the four domains, and we have drawn inspiration from National Professional Standards for Teachers in India, which has been published by National Council for Teacher Education. And we have conceptualized a framework for evaluation. So we have these four domains: core values and ethics, professional knowledge and understanding, professional competence and practice, and students' learning and engagement. And there are 48 collective indicators which provide this particular framework. So we have an element of self evaluation, we have a peer evaluation, we have a supervisor evaluation, we have a classroom observation, and we also have an one on one interaction with every single teacher. And on the basis of data and the analytics, and we generate a report to facilitate the professional development journey and growth of the teachers. So it is about that, what the strengths of that teacher are, what would be the areas of improvement for that teacher, and moving forward, linking the areas of improvement with the professional development needs. So it also serves as a need analysis towards effective CPD. So it's a 5 point scale, but what we don't do is we don't label teachers. By labeling teachers, what I mean is we don't say that the rating scales of 1 to 5 are not like poor, satisfactory, good, excellent, outstanding, nothing of that sort, because those provide a label to that teacher that you are poor, you are only satisfactory, you are good but not excellent. So in order to avoid that, what we have done is the description, 1 out of 5 we have defined it as is aware, the teacher is aware. Okay. Number two is, which is obviously more than one, the definition is the teacher is aware but also understands. So the teacher is aware and understands. Rating 3 is the teacher not only is aware and understands but also demonstrates, but with limitations. There are certain limitations in the demonstration. Level 4 is demonstrate successfully or independently. So practically there is nothing more you can do as a teacher if you are demonstrating something which is expected out of you successfully or independently. But level 5 is an aspirational model. Level 5 talks about capable of mentoring others. So these are the 5 domains that we do and support our teachers for enhanced quality with proper data. Also, this is very important that we all need to be able to set goals for everyone. So, any kind of rubric. So, this is just a sample rubric of Marzano I wanted to share. So, every success criteria for the students need to be defined. That how are you defining the success criteria not only of the student, of the teacher. So the rubrics and a progressive rubric is extremely important so that there is no expectation mismatch going forward. So ability to set goals becomes paramount importance. Goal setting is another effective way what Marzano has said, and it is extremely critical for students to understand what defines success, because remember we are trying to create conditions for success. So self monitoring is another aspect I would like to cover very quickly. Students need to self monitor their behavior. So the independence is not something that is necessarily fostered in most schools, but there are multiple ways in which this can be done. So a student who can, let's say, plan, organize, and see a project through the end over time has the self monitoring ability to do the same in, let's say, in a college or in a work environment. So these are the skill sets I think we need to inculcate in today's children. um, that's all about the 4 domains which I wanted to cover. Just to wrap up, a very small reminder that we are human beings and not human doings. I'm not going to read this out the table. Some of the points you can read and reflect as well. So I think one of the key critical areas what we need to realize is, in order to remain a human being and not endlessly running behind completion of tasks, is knowing the purpose, knowing our why. Why are we doing what we are doing? And then we need to spend significant time to plan. Planning is very, very important, because if we are in a mode of continuous activity, there is not enough time to reflect and plan. So planning becomes a very key thing as part of human being. And then you need to spend time in sharpening the skills. So honing the skills, the new skills which will be required, we need to invest time in professional development. And then we need to schedule some amount of uh, downtime, some amount of pause, take a breath, reflect, and before we move on to the next level. Spending time outside, evaluating the opportunities which are around you, time management. These are again some of the key things which we need to figure out if we don't want to join the bandwagon under human doings. So I'm assuming we all want to remain as human beings and not human doings. This is another with a little on the spirituality level. So this is school of conscious transformation. I think this is the ultimate level of success and deep individual transformation which we are able to achieve. So if we can achieve wisdom, strength, harmony, and perfection, and these are some of the sub points defining those, I think at the end of our lifetime we will be called a successful person, irrespective or regardless of what our bank balances are or what was the last designation which we held in our professional career. And this realization, I think, needs to start from the school, from the early age, because that's where it is much easier to mold a young child in towards thinking about conscious transformation. The last slide, I would want to quote one of my favorite management gurus and author, Simon Sinek. This is from his latest book called The Infinite Game. And it goes like this: a signpost stands at a fork in the road. Pointing in one direction, the sign says victory. Pointing in another direction, the sign says fulfillment. We must pick a direction. Which one will we choose? If we choose the path to victory, the goal is to win. We will experience the thrill of competition as we rush toward the finish line. Crowds gather to cheer for us. And then it's over and everyone goes home. Hopefully, we can do it again. If we choose the path to fulfillment, the journey will be long. There will be times in which we must watch our step. There will be times we can stop to enjoy the view. We keep going, we keep going. Crowds gather to join us on the journey. And when our lives are over, those who joined on the path to fulfillment will keep going without us and inspire others to join them too. I think that sums up what success is all about. Thank you very much for being with me today and being a part of this session. Any questions? I'll just stop sharing my screen. I'll be happy to take.
Thank you, Dr. Arijit, for your session. We have one comment from Anju Naik. She says that model for sustainable student success is great based on joy, abstain. Please share resources and your contact number. I'm not
Sure.
at the ability to answer this. If you would like to share.
Absolutely. My slide had my email ID, and I will share with the organizers my email ID and my phone number. Uh, Please feel free to connect. I would love to connect with whoever wants to reach out to me.
Yeah, so Anju is from Reliance Foundation. Anju, we will get back. You can inbox us and we will connect you with Dr. Arijit. So that sums up the session. Thank you, Dr. Arijit, for your time and effort to share your wealth of knowledge with us. We will have a 15-minute break before the panel discussion. Thank you to our audience as well. See you in our next session. Thank you very much once again. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.